Do you hear it? Like, hear it? And now listen.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. So it really is just the gentlest, hummingbird's beak worth of connection.
Yeah. Is this really the way we should be operating? Not you, but this is the equipment that should be sold, where it's like the gentle touch of a balsa wood model.
Yeah.
A house of cards.
I know. I really need to invest in a little board. Are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not doing Zencaster. There's no point.
You hate. Well, we were doing that so you could edit.
I know, but I'm never doing it. If you want me to edit, I'll do it. But maybe you could just record it and then just send it to me.
Nah, you're too busy. You're too busy to edit.
I am busy. Ellie has a little Zoom birthday party to go to at 3.
That's sad.
Well, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
And then I have a hair appointment for them at 5.
But so how does a Zoom birthday party work? Do you have to provide the cake? So you have a cake that you're going to give Ellie, so it falls on the parent. But they still expect you to send a present, so you have to mail a present for this Zoom birthday party, and then they get off the hook of having to supply the party favors and the cakes and all the other stuff. Now you have to provide that too. What a scam!
It's a virtual directed drawing birthday party.
So they're going to draw pictures?
I guess. I don't know what's going to happen, but
it's a real shame. I mean, it's a shame that kids, I know that birthday parties are important for kids.
I know.
Which is the whole creation on the parents' front. If all parents banded together and said, we're not celebrating, you know what's going to happen on the birthday? You're getting me presents as the mom. That's what you should say.
Yeah, I deserve a present more than, well, you get a lot of presents as a mom, I guess. You get a birthday present, you get Mother's Day present, you get Christmas present. And then you get their birthday present.
You should get their birthday present. You shouldn't.
I guess you should because you gestated them and then you pushed them out.
You shouldn't get your birthday present. You shouldn't be getting birthday presents for your birthday. Your mom should be getting them at that point.
Yeah, that really should be the case. Your birthday should be a day to gift something to your parent.
Good luck changing it. We live in a world of selfish
we can
little
change
hellions.
it because we can do whatever we want. So, you know what? On my birthday this year, I'm going to get my mom something.
It's my birthday and it means so much to me. And I say this.
It's my birthday.
Yeah, I say this as a person who has to deal with adults who act like that. You didn't do anything. If you want to pretend that you're special, which you're not, because people aren't special. There are many people. You're not that much different than any of the others. You can do all the things you want to try to set yourself apart. You can try to get fame and riches because you think that'll make you better than other people and then justify your idea that you're special. Truth is you're not. But the birthday is the least, all that aside, that's the most terrible time to celebrate you being special because you didn't do anything. You didn't do a damn thing. You were shot into the world or cut out if you refused to come out like I did.
Yeah. Were you cut out?
I was cut out because I knew better. I said, I don't want to go out there. I could sense it from the get-go. I was like, that's not a place I want to be. It's not a place anyone wants to be.
It's not true.
But then they pretend that they want to be out there. Okay. You do what you have to do at that point, I guess, to get by. Lie to yourself. No thoughts on that, huh?
I'm trying to absorb it, think about it.
Well, take some of it away. Just focus on the birthday part of it. Okay. You didn't do anything. Why are you celebrating a whole week?
Yeah. I think that birthdays used to be more significant because you've lived. Now that living seems a little bit more attainable than it ever has been and continues maybe to be, that before it was like, oh man, you're 38 and you're still okay. We should celebrate. You haven't died of, typhoid yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very, very good point. It's like, okay, you're here. You made it again.
Yeah. Death's right around the corner. You're almost 40, brother. You better I hope you've had 10 kids to help you tend to the farm because you about to die because it's 1902.
See, that reframes it. And that's a celebration of the person's life that they're still alive. The celebration that other people put on. Birthdays at this point, while it still falls, the onus of it still falls to other people to celebrate the birthday. The person in question who's being celebrated, they get very angry if other people don't drop everything quite often.
Yeah. Yeah, it's morphed into something, just a reason to celebrate rather than realizing you're still alive.
Yeah, we really drilled it into kids' heads. It's your birthday. You're special. Here we go.
Well, you know what Ellie keeps asking about for her birthday? She's like, well, on my birthday, you'll have to say yes to this because it'll be my birthday. Because there are these things on YouTube where these, thirst trap parents post these videos of their kids' birthdays where they say yes to everything. And so they go to Target. They're like, I want to go to Target and buy things. And so they take their kids to Target and they just say yes to everything that the kid wants. Or like, I want ice cream for breakfast. And you're like, okay. And so she thinks that this is just like something you do. And I was like, guess what? That's not happening. I will probably say yes to you a little bit more easily on your birth date, but I'm not going, you're not taking me to Target and then to the poorhouse afterward because I bought all this bullshit for you.
It is insane. YouTube is poison. YouTube is poisoning the minds of America and the world and the youth. I mean,
It's
before
up to me, though, I shouldn't let her watch it. Maybe,
but it's every before. Kids were influenced by what they saw on television. Not to claim that television was some great place that didn't try to manipulate their wants and desires by creating cartoons that were strictly just to push a toy line or throwing all those commercials in their faces. I want this. But I feel like with YouTube, it started maybe with My Sweet 16, which was supposed to be making fun of those people. I would assume those hardcore brats who cried because they didn't get the correct Cadillac.
Yeah, that was an upsetting show.
But I feel like at least when it was first pitched, maybe it was like, this is so insane. Let's document this and put this out there. But it did become then a thing. It's like, no, I mean, the satire is gone now. This is what kids want, and other kids watch that, and it didn't have the intended effect. They didn't watch it and think, I don't want to be like her. I see what it's like when you're spoiled. Instead, I think it planted the seed. It's like, I want all of that. Why don't I have all of that?
I guess.
And then YouTube, it carried over into YouTube. Now you watch these kids, opening presents, talking about how special they are on their birthday. And it just gives a point of comparison for your kid. It's like, oh, well, that kid got everything. And because I'm a kid and my brain is half mush still, I don't understand. The best I can do is correlate love to that. And so that kid's parents really love him. And my parents don't.
I know. I mean, I'm glad. Listen, we're not struggling, but I am glad to give Ellie some kind of struggle because it's not good to say yes constantly to them and to never teach them disappointment, or to never, like I've talked about before, like lawnmower parents that remove every obstacle out of the kid's way, so that they never learn how to feel negative anything. And the only things that they do feel negatively about are because
they saw it on YouTube
of disappointment of something they didn't get.
Yeah.
This way, like she needs, we've talked about this before. We all need struggle, you have to have resistance to gain strength. That's good.
And that's why astronauts, that's why their bodies deplete. There's no resistance.
Yeah. Speaking of astronauts.
Oh yeah, I guess that can lead into the topic. Anyway, good luck with the Zoom birthday. I think it would have been a good year for parents to say, you know what, there's no birthday this year. I'm sorry, it's just the state of the world. We'll get back to it.
I mean,
next
they
year.
might have done that. No, would they have done that last year? No, when did the pandemic start?
March.
Okay, so never mind. So I was thinking like maybe last year they did that because with Ellie, her birthday was in May, and we were just like, all right, I'm just gonna make you a cake and we're gonna sing happy birthday and you're gonna get a present. I'm like, just relax. But yeah, I mean, we're deep in it. A Zoom birthday makes sense.
I mean, it's fine as long as you didn't have to. You have to supply the cake though.
No, I don't. Anyway, we did make a cake yesterday just totally unrelated to that.
All right. Well, at least she has a cake now.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to send the kid any presents. So, all right, get on the Zoom.
Sweet.
Draw pictures of buttons and leaves. Is that what it is? It's a drawing party.
Yeah. Buttons is a funny thing.
Well, what do kids
to
draw?
teach a kid.
They draw circles. Anything that's circular based. A button.
I mean, maybe
a cat's
it's like
head.
you can use these circles to make a cat's face.
I think that's what kids like. They just draw circles and then they add things to it. This is the sun. This is a wheel.
Yep, these are petals on a flower.
This is an
Circles.
eyeball.
This is the lines and circles. That's what the first chapter. That's like your childhood. It's called Lines and Circles.
When you write your
That's what-
memoir.
Yeah, your memoirs. Lines and circles. Here's when I associated everything with lines and circles.
Back so long ago when I was a small child. Now that I'm an adult and I'm 21, here's my memoir.
Welcome to One Topic, where we stick to one topic. My name is Autumn Fisher.
My name is Greg Russ, and it's your week, Autumn, though. Well, go ahead. I'm not going to steal your glory.
Oh. Thank you so much, because I am the only person who came up with this idea. This was my unique thought process. No one had any influence on me choosing this topic this week, and the topic is Jupiter.
The planet.
The planet!
The scariest planet. Yeah, this was solely your idea. I've never thought about Jupiter and how it scares the hell out of me. How it's
You're the
frightening.
only other person I've met who Jupiter also scares. When I say that, they're like, people say, what do you mean? It's like, it's too big. It's too big. I don't like it. There's no surface. Even the core of it probably isn't it's not even a hard core. It's probably some creepy, dense gas or like liquid or something. Ugh, I don't like it. I don't like that it's so huge. I don't like that it has all that shit around it. I appreciate things about it, which we'll get into. But yes, it's too big and it's always up there in the sky. You can see it in like every season. It's up there looking at us, watching us with its eye.
Yeah, this is what gets you going about it. I mean, the fact that it exists, the fact that any giant planets exist, the fact that the sun exists, the fact that there are suns several times larger than our sun, more than several times larger. The space in general, the fact that it exists is the most frightening thing I think that you could ever really think about. And maybe that's why people avoid it. Sometimes I think people avoid it because they're stupid and they don't have the capacity to think about such things, that they exist in a large universe and that their existence is relatively insignificant. Though within that, just aside, within that, it depends on how you want to look at it. There is the one classical view that none of it matters because we don't matter, because we are so small and there's so much more out there. So get over yourselves. And I think that there's some value in that. But you don't have to take it that far. It doesn't have to be complete nihilism. It can also be like, but you know what? We are here. And that in itself is a pretty interesting thing.
That's your inner struggle, what you're saying. This is your inner struggle.
Well, it is. I mean, the fact that we're here, intelligent, I put it in quotes because many arguments about how intelligent we really are, probably really not so intelligent, just more intelligent than the other creatures on this planet. But overall, the way we act and carry ourselves goes to show that we're some of the dumbest fucking creatures possibly that could have ever been invented. But, you know, within that we are here, you can assign some value to it.
Definitely.
So I fall somewhere. Yeah, I guess that's my struggle. But yeah, maybe
like, I have such intense feelings, but I'm worthless.
Maybe the point is that, it is too scary. Just overall, it's too scary. And that's why people don't think about it. It's not because they're not interested or they're more interested in themselves.
I get the creeps thinking about Jupiter. Oh, and it spins so fast. It spins way too fast for how big it is.
Why is that?
Why?
Yeah, but why are you saying that it spins way too fast? It spins at the speed that it spins, so therefore it's not too fast for it.
Something that big should not have a single day that is 9 hours and it says 9 hours and 55 minutes.
It says no. This was commonly held knowledge, Autumn. It says
My commonly held. I knew that it spun fast. I knew that it spun quickly, but I didn't know exactly. So I looked up facts about Jupiter.
I mean, that is pretty. How big is Jupiter in terms of comparing it to Earth? What is it? What do you remember from your brain, not from a fact that you looked up?
What are you asking?
How many Earths can fit inside Jupiter?
Oh, I don't know, but isn't it like 5 Earths across is how big the red spot is? Something like that.
Well, 3, I think. I don't know if that thing varies in size. I've seen.
Is it just 3?
Yeah, just 3 Earths. Overall, 1,300 Earths can fit inside of Jupiter, and I think the reason we're focusing on Jupiter as something that's scary is because it is so close compared to the other things. I mean, the fact the sun is pretty close, and that exists right now. This just hot churning ball of plasma,
and the sun
gas.
is huge, and compared to other suns, it's tiny.
And that's what I mean. If you ever looked at that video. That shows, I think it does show Earth and then Jupiter and then our sun to scale. And then it just continues on throughout many other stars that are unimaginably gigantic. And they're just out there and they're violent and they're churning.
And we're not talking about stars that have started to like explode and expanded. We're talking about just like, this is my life as a star and I'm huge.
But Jupiter is the focal point. Because it is so close, it's right there, and you can see it with and I know you can see the sun, but as planets, you can see it with the naked eye. I think it's the 4th brightest object in the sky, behind the moon, sun, and then Venus.
Yeah.
Which we'll get. I know we're talking about Jupiter. Venus really should be scarier than Jupiter.
Why is that?
Venus is just a horrific place. Because
isn't it like really cold and really hot?
It's just really hot. The whole thing is really hot.
Oh,
There's runaway greenhouse gas effect where its thick atmosphere has made it so hot and it rains sulfuric acid. And
why was Venus the place that we were going to go? You remember it was always like Venus.
Who said this?
Oh, Venus is where to go.
Nobody said this. Who was saying this?
And then it turned to Mars. I feel like pop culturally, everyone talked about like men from Mars,
But I don't think that realistically anyone was ever talking about going to Venus and settling on Venus. I think the idea with Venus is it's similar in size to Earth. It's got an atmosphere, so it's maybe a little more recognized. But no, it's been. You can't even send probes to Venus; they melt right away. You can't even study that planet.
Though, before we started sending probes and things there, I think that there was sort of a mindset of like, oh, maybe Venus is sort of like where we can go because it has the atmosphere. It's a nice color. We like it, but it's actually horrific.
Well, possibly, I guess, before we knew things.
Well, they named it such a nice thing. Why would they name it such a nice Venus,
I don't know.
They named Jupiter because it's like the god of war or whatever, or whatever Jupiter means, because it's a scary ass place.
Well, what goddess is Venus?
Venus is like, nice goddess.
That's it? That's what you've got? Venus.
The goddess of love.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's why I was asking. I just thought
beauty, desire, sex, fertility, prosperity, and victory.
I thought you were just saying, excuse me, I don't really know. Nice goddess.
Yeah.
No, Venus is hotter than Mercury because of the atmosphere.
Uh-huh.
It has that weird thing where it spins clockwise on its axis because there was some giant collision at some point. Such a huge collision that it caused it to spin the opposite direction than all the other planets. And I think Venus's year and the day are very similar. I don't remember how close they are, but it just spins so slowly. The reason I think Venus is actually scarier, even though I get wrapped up in Jupiter, is because it is similar, at least in theory and at first glance, to Earth. So it's the comparison is, wow, that's a place like, oh my God, it's nothing like ours. And
right.
The atmospheric pressure is 90 times greater than that of Earth. So you'd be crushed.
Oh, it says a day on Venus is longer than a year.
For Venus. Yeah. A violent history that place has had. And the acid and the heat and the pressure.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, because it's bright in the sky and it's got a pretty name, and I guess it looks kind of pretty.
It is always up there, too. It's typically up there next to the moon, hanging out.
We give it more of a pass than Jupiter, which is, just a failed star that is angry and violent.
Yeah. I don't like it.
I don't know how close it actually was to becoming a star, but when I think about Jupiter and its personality, it's like the underachiever. It's bigger and it can bully the nerds and the weaklings, but when it comes to the stars and the cool kids, it gets bullied. The stars say you just couldn't cut it.
Saturn is the cool Jupiter.
Well,
Saturn is also very gaseous, huge, but is more relaxed.
It's the rings. Saturn is just as worrisome as Jupiter is in terms of its atmosphere and the swirling
clouds. It doesn't look as tumultuous as Jupiter does.
I mean, it's still got the same thing going on. Yeah, it's a gas giant with the raging storms. Jupiter, I know that the idea of what drives those storms is the heat. So Jupiter's very hot down near its core, and it's cooler as you go up. And, similar to Earth, there's a balance that nature wants to be struck. And so things like tornadoes, for example, it's like, when there's a convergence of cooler air and warmer air and it starts spinning so it can balance its whole thing out. And that's the reason Jupiter's got those nonstop swirling storms in the Great Red Spot, which is 3 times, maybe 5 times the size of Earth. It's like a hurricane 3 times the size of our planet. It's just, I can't comprehend it.
And it's been happening for hundreds and years. I think 300 something years, 350 years.
It just continues.
It's unsettling.
And the wind speeds, which actually aren't as bad as I would have thought. They're over 300 miles per hour, between 300 and 400 miles per hour, which is much faster than any winds we get here on Earth. I think, 200 miles per hour is probably the top limit. And I would assume that on Jupiter it would have been more. But for a person in your weak little body, 300 mile per hour winds, could you imagine just being dumped into the atmosphere of Jupiter? Say you could live a little bit by breathing with some apparatus.
Yeah. They have a thing like that. They have a video somewhere online where it's like you're in a special spacesuit and it takes you through, entering Jupiter.
Who hosts it? It's not Neil deGrasse Tyson, is it?
No, I don't think so. It's Tiffany Haddish.
I don't know who that is. I don't get that reference.
She's that comedian. She's real funny. That's all I got.
I'm sorry. I dropped you. I left you hanging because I don't know the Tiffany Haddish.
Tiffany Haddish
reference.
Is someone you would not suspect to do a voice of something serious. That's why I said it. She was in the Lego Movie too.
Oh, I'm looking her up. Yeah, I don't know who she is. No offense, Tiffany Haddish. I'm not saying that that's a commentary on your talent or your ability to perform. I just don't know. I don't keep up anymore.
Listen, Jupiter's atmosphere is the solar system's largest planetary atmosphere. It is composed of hydrogen 90% and helium 10% in roughly the same proportions found in the sun.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, that it's got the same makeup as the sun. And if there was a little bit bigger and some more pressure had formed, it could have sparked and become another star. Albeit, I guess it would have been a pretty small star. But it's the makings. The makings were there. It had the elements. It just didn't have everything it needed. So that's why I call it a failure. And it enacts its rage on the rest of the solar system by pulling in any interplanetary objects that it can.
Yeah.
Catches
which
them.
has really helped us out.
Catches them in its orbit, holds them hostage against
them
their
as a
will.
moon.
False imprisonment.
How many moons? 79 moons.
Is that how many it is?
Yeah. But I mean, there's the Galilean moons, which are the ones that can be seen from a ground-based telescope by someone like Galileo, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. And honestly, Jupiter is good for 2 things. 1, protecting the solar system from large space objects by pulling them in. And then also by having such cool moons.
Well, so now you're going against.
I'll keep Jupiter around because of its cool moons.
But now you're going against. You've just completely switched your stance. Jupiter's
No, I'm unhappy
scary.
with Jupiter.
I can't stand
It
it.
is.
But look at these wonderful things it does. It protects us
Two things.
from stray
I'm giving
asteroids.
you two things.
And it has beautiful moons that are bigger than some of the planets like Mercury. And now that Pluto is no longer a planet, these things are just caught.
R.I.P. Pluto.
No, Pluto deserved to go. But you can
Think
thank
so?
you can thank Neil deGrasse Tyson for that too. He was really proud of
Oh,
himself.
I loved how proud he was. He's like, "Fuck you, everybody!" With your, your what's it called when you like to keep things around because they remind you of the past? With your reminiscing. Nope. Your.
Sentiment.
Why do you keep things? Sentiment. Yes. Fuck you, everybody, with your sentimentality about Pluto and, it's part of the planets, and you remember your little rhyme about, how many planets there are in its order. Like, nope, Pluto's gone. And I'm glad about it. Fuck you, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Give everybody a break.
Well, that guy, the problem with him is his ego really grew. I feel like
Yeah.
at first, people were happy to give him the torch. Like, run with it. Be the next Carl Sagan. We need
Yes,
someone.
we want that.
We need someone to bring science to the masses and make it interesting and relatable. And then he did it, but you could see the ego just growing on that man. It burst out of his skull and spilled all over like a mustard stain on his shirt.
Yeah, he was like proud to shame people.
Yeah, I mean,
And I don't think that other people that we loved in space did that.
like Sagan would have never done such a thing.
Of course not. Sagan is the Jim Henson of astronomy.
I do want to say that the argument for Pluto not being a planet, I think, was very valid. And I did kind of like, so this was when Neil deGrasse Tyson was known, but he wasn't as known. And I went to see him speak. And he did, during his presentation, he put up letters from children about how they had written these letters so sad that Pluto was no longer a planet. It was their favorite, and he's destroyed their dreams, and he's laughing at the kids. And I have to say, I found some joy in that. I thought it was a pretty funny little segment.
Oh, see, that would make me not like him. Be like, man, you are mean.
That's pretty funny to actually have those and present them.
Yeah, but that's not cool. It's not nice.
That's cool. It's funny.
He should be like, sorry, kids, still the facts. That's fine. But to be laughing at them,
Well, they're
he can
not
go jump
there.
off. He can go get sucked into Jupiter.
They're not there. They're not.
How do you know that?
He's not pointing it out to their face, like putting his
He's like,
finger in
special
their
guests,
face.
the kids that wrote these letters, they're in the front row. Let's all point and laugh at them.
I would have joined in. But we were just saying in the pre-show, sometimes you gotta, you can't protect kids. Can't be a lawnmower parent. You gotta put them out there and let them run the risk of coming across a Neil deGrasse Tyson who wants to laugh at them for thinking Pluto should be a planet when they have zero idea.
Sometimes you got to protect kids, just every once in a while.
From Neil deGrasse Tyson. But no, it was the level of joy that he took in it. Like, not shaming the kids, but he's like very proud of himself, self-congratulatory. It's like, I did that. I moved. I was the lead on that movement. It's like, okay. I don't. And then that show that he did, the remake of Cosmos, where he was in that god awful CGI, terrible looking spaceship standing there, just uncomfortably and awkwardly. It's like, do you not even know how to stand properly, dude? You look like the most awkward creature. Like, you could be an alien. Like, look at the way this thing interacts with its surroundings. It doesn't know. But no, here he is, and he thinks that he's God's gift to women, and they all want him. And I bet his breath stinks. My base smells like mothballs. I really turned on him.
What? You think so?
I turned on him. It's just the ego. I'd have no time for the ego. There's zero. We'll tie it back into Jupiter by saying that. I feel like Jupiter has an ego. If you could assign traits to the planets, I feel like Jupiter has this ego that like you said, Saturn, similar to Jupiter, probably just as scary as a place, but it's beautiful and it seems a little more quiet and reserved and comfortable in who it is. Jupiter. It's constantly, look at me, look at me, look at me, here I am, look at me, look at this giant red spot, look at all these hostages I've taken.
So many hostages. Relax, Jupiter. Why don't you just like hang out with your cohorts and form a nice little ring and look beautiful like your friend Saturn?
Jupiter does have rings. Sad little rings.
But they're but not like Saturn.
No, it's nothing like Saturn's, and that's another reason why it gets angry. It's like, I don't have the same kind of rings, so I'm going to take it out on these hostages. Io, although Io's an awful place too. It's like just volcanoes. The whole thing is volcanoes, just burning everything.
Well, and you know the names of the moons, of the Galilean moons, were Jupiter's mistresses.
Yeah, well, it's fitting.
And Juno, the probe that we sent to
the
go
movie
like,
where the girl got pregnant.
yeah, you remember that movie? That was so cool. I think she had a telescope. Anyway, no, the probe that we sent out to go like hang out with Jupiter and look at all the moons and stuff was named Juno because that was Jupiter's, the god's wife. So she was going to like check up on all these mistresses.
Sorry, I'm just looking
This
at
fact
the other.
does not entertain. I'm telling you something interesting and you decide to just totally check out.
No, I was listening to it. I didn't check out. Why did you take offense to that? Because I didn't respond immediately. I was listening
Yes.
to your facts.
Because I thought that was really interesting.
It is interesting. The naming convention's interesting. I didn't know that the moons were named after the mistresses. Again, though, it's fitting for my outlook on Jupiter, which is that just this self-absorbed piece of shit. It's like, yeah, I have a wife. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bang all these other ones too. Just try to stop me.
And then, you know what happened to Juno the probe?
It burned up in the atmosphere.
Yep. Typical Jupiter. That's what we should be calling shitheads instead of like assholes.
Calling them Jupiter.
Jupiters. Yeah.
And dude's such a
Yeah,
Jupiter.
he like came into the bar and he was super drunk and he was really trying to take over the place, but everybody was really annoyed. He was a real Jupiter.
I'll get on board with that. I'll start that movement.
All right.
There could be another T-shirt that we sell. What a Jupiter.
That's right.
He's a Jupiter.
What a Jupiter. Dolphins are pandas.
We have great product ideas. We just,
We do.
you know, I'm not shameless. I don't need to make money.
So I think which is of the Galilean moons have like the most prospect for life? They're thinking like which one has like the ice ocean that
It's
they think is like
Europa.
liquid? It's Europa?
Yes. Yeah, Europa.
Yeah, Europa.
It could be heated from the core, and under the ice, there could be some sweet spots.
And the push and pull of Jupiter's of going around Jupiter and like the gravity on the moon, right? Could heat it up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's going to be some kind of, because it's icy and there's friction created. I don't understand the full mechanics of the thermal. What am I going to say? It's the best that you're going to get from me on that one.
Hydrothermal dynamics.
Yeah. Something like that. It works. No, I do think that if we're going to explore, I wish there would be more focus on one of those moons, Europa specifically, because there is this idea that there could be life. I don't know why we're sending probes to Pluto. We know it's nothing. We know there's nothing there. And it was interesting to see once, I know that they launched that.
There were features and things that we weren't able to see ever before when Voyager or whatever went around it and hung out with Jupiter for a while. But yeah, ultimately, I mean, Europa and maybe Callisto, right, are the places to really look into. Who cares about Mars also? I mean, going to Mars really is just learning about like the solar system's history, which I guess has a place. But if you want to find like really exciting new things, going to one of these Jupiter's moons or I don't know.
Well, it depends on what they're looking for. I think Mars, because one, it just captures the public's interest. And as ridiculous as it is, as ridiculous as it is, you need the public support so you can get the funding from the government. And I know they want to privatize a lot of it, but at that point, a company's not going to just do it for the sake of doing it. They've got to find ways to make money. So, Mars can be colonized. People could live there conceivably. And, it could also just be, I think it's feasible to get people there and get them back alive.
Yeah.
So that's why there's a focus on Mars. And it's always been in the imaginations of people. Yeah, it's
Doesn't the moon
close
seem
neighbor.
like a better option to make like a base camp for? I guess it's too close.
Well, they were talking about making a camp on the moon that then would launch to Mars, but you're talking about colonizing the moon?
I just mean making it like a rest stop. Isn't that what we need? We need to be able to like stop and resupply, forts on the Oregon Trail.
It's pointless because the moon may as well be Earth at that point. It's not really going to do any good if you're going to Mars as a rest
That's what
stop.
I mean. Like it's too close.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of launching missions from the moon, I think, is because it's just easier to get out of the atmosphere. Well, no, not the atmosphere, the gravitational pull of the moon. It's
That
like, all
makes
right,
sense.
It's more cost effective if you're able to launch from there ultimately.
I would be afraid. I always think about because the gravity on the moon is so much lower than Earth, that wouldn't it be scary if you could like be up there and in your spacesuit and just jump really hard and then you escape the moon's gravity?
And you never land.
You're just out there. You would probably orbit the moon, right? Maybe you would orbit it and then eventually like slow to a stop onto the surface.
I don't know what would happen. I mean, if you're escaping the gravitational pull, maybe you can. Gravity somewhere will catch you, and maybe
It seems like
maybe
a
you would just
good
orbit
enough jump could get you out of that sort of immediate pull back down to the moon's surface.
it. I don't know. Let's see. Although you can jump very high in the moon, you'll be happy to know there's no need to worry about jumping all the way off into space.
Okay, I'm happy to know that.
So it can't happen.
Oh man. I think what this episode could, I mean, we're going to keep focusing on Jupiter and stuff, but I feel like this episode could be called We're Afraid of Outer Space, because there's so many things about it that just give me the creeps.
Yeah, rightly so. It is a strange, inhospitable place.
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh, I hate the idea of, like I said, like being like, let's say we didn't just know that fact about being able to escape the moon's gravity by jumping, and then you do jump high enough and then you can't, like, it's not like you can swim. It's not like you can like push yourself anywhere. You are just at the mercy of what feels like nothing.
Because it is
Everything that, because it is nothing.
There's no
Everything that you
resistance.
know about movement and your body are gone. Hate it.
This is why I can't get stoned.
Yeah.
These thoughts are already in my head, and then you smoke, and then these things become a little more prominent. And yeah, it's going nowhere good.
Oh, just dying slowly in your spacesuit.
I do feel like if we could transport people to Jupiter, though, and just have them go just outside of the planet, close enough you see the violence of it, you watch it swirling around, and then they come back to Earth, it would reframe things. We would have to reframe people's thinking. It'd be a way to show people it's like, you're not that important. Let go a bit. Stop making everything about yourself. You just went and saw Jupiter. I pulled up what Jupiter sounds like. You want to hear what this thing sounds like?
Sure.
There you go. So just listen to that. Staring at it.
So, someone was doing some hammering in the background.
No, why are you
So it
making a
sounded
joke?
like
Why are
at
you
the
making a
end.
joke about that frightening, horrifying noise?
So how would you be? It's not like if somehow you could be, orbiting Jupiter and then you could take your helmet off and listen. That's not what you would hear.
Well,
That's like some interpretation of like.
no, that's what you would hear.
Really?
Well, you can't hear things in space because it's a vacuum, so you can't actually hear anything.
So how is that a representation of what you hear?
They're recordings of electromagnetic vibrations that pulsate
Oh.
wavelengths that then can be recorded and transferred to the audio that our ears can hear. So they're wavelengths that we've turned into audio.
So maybe your ears would like your eardrums would vibrate, but you wouldn't be able to interpret what that was. So you would feel, maybe you would feel Jupiter more than you would hear it.
The point of that is, though, it's quite. You're sitting there. Here's what's going on. You're one of these people who's on the subway blasting your music. You think that you're the most important thing around. You're so interesting, and people want to hear what you have to think, and they want to know what you listen to, and you really have got this all figured out, and you have so much to offer the world because you really are just the best and the greatest. You should be sent to Jupiter. You have to sit there and stare at the thing. Maybe for a couple years. Maybe that's the sentence. And then when you come back, you realize, that you are a piece of garbage and nothing, a peon, a crumb that fell off someone's chipwich. And then you go about and you live your life in a manner that's conducive to respect. This, if we want to use and harness Jupiter's awful power, this is the way to do it. I just need to come up with a system that can quickly get people to Jupiter. And that becomes jail at that point. I think that is what jail becomes. Instead of locking people away, you send them and they have to look at this and think about their existence.
I wonder if people had similar thoughts about things like the Grand Canyon when they came across them. Like the wonder of the earth, and that this is something that has been here for millions of years, and this is that. Now we're just like, yeah, there it is. It's a national park.
Well,
you can take a donkey down it.
Have you ever been to the Grand Canyon?
No.
I still think that it catches people's imagination and attention when you go see it, because it does reframe your perspective on being alive.
So maybe that's what people should be doing now, is using...
But it's not as scary. There's nothing really scary about it, other than the fact that there's no fences and you can go to the ledge and fall off if you're trying to get a selfie. But at that point, it serves you right.
Or you have the imp of the perverse, where you stand on the edge of something and you're like, what if I jumped? I kind of want to jump.
That's why I would never go near the edge. I don't think I would actually jump, but it's just when you...
Of course.
An accident happens. That's how it always works. I mean, not always, but quite often it's like you're there, you're like everything's, and you just one little trip and you're done. But people don't seem to care. I'll go lay my feet over the edge. I'll jump. I'll do a jumping selfie.
Gotta do it for the gram.
Yeah, ultimately, I guess that's what Jupiter would turn into. It's like people had easy access, just become an Instagram background. And that's when they should be launched into the atmosphere. And we should watch them. I mean, they'd be so small, you wouldn't see anything.
Yeah, it would just go.
Because when you had that comet that slammed into Jupiter however many years ago.
Yeah, was that 94? I remember that.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing because we were able to see. It helped them understand.
I remember reading about it years before and them saying like, "Stay tuned." 4 years from now, this is the projected place where it's going to land or it's going to hit, and then the bruises stayed on Jupiter for months.
Yeah, Shoemaker-Levy 9 was the comet that slammed into it, and it did.
What year was it?
It looked like it was 94. You were right, July. Well, it broke apart in 92. So this is what you're talking about. It broke apart in 92, and then they said, "All right, in a couple years, watch for this." And then we got some pictures of it, and it helped them figure out, more about the makeup of Jupiter. And the way that thing just ate it up. And I get it. When you're saying earlier that Jupiter does actually catch a lot of these objects that otherwise could slam into Earth. I mean, there's an idea that Earth wouldn't even exist as it exists now, conducive for life, if Jupiter wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like it could have just been completely destroyed or just beaten to a pulp, and then not have had the conditions to form an atmosphere and all the things that we need. Which is
the relatively long spans of time that we need to just chill and change.
Which goes to show that when people talk about life being rare in the universe, and if it does take something like a sun like ours in the habitable zone, but also then having another planet that can protect that one planet where life could form, the chances probably are pretty low. So many factors have to come into play, and it just kind of has to be the way it worked out. That's just right. Everything just happened the way it needed to happen. I mean, I think that there is probably other forms of life out there. And again, I wish people would spend more time or show more interest in exploring places where we could possibly find life. But, the churches are stopping that from happening.
Well, I think
it's not true.
I know.
I made that up. It's based on nothing.
Based on
makes sense though. If we find life, then we're exposed, and then okay, so just
nailing, like a whatever to a church door.
The Pope is very rich, and he sends bribes to space explorers. Like, don't explore that place. We can't find, even if it's bacteria, we can't find anything like an eel. What if
It
there's,
goes against what we think is a god.
yeah, what if there's an eel on Europa just swimming around?
Yeah.
What if there were animals on Jupiter swimming around in the atmosphere? Like eels. How big would they be?
Well, it's hard to say because our concept of what makes things big is based on our rules, and the rules would be different because on that planet, because it's starting at a base that's totally different from ours. Gas base.
Well, let's just add to the frightening nature then by saying that who knows? We've never explored Jupiter. Maybe there are giant snakes that just slither around in the swirling clouds.
Gas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they eat each other?
Yeah. There's a whole
Where's their poop go?
There's a whole system. It goes into the Great Red Spot. It's a giant toilet swirling.
That's what that is. That's why it's swirling.
The
It's flushing.
Coriolis effect.
Yeah.
Is it spinning in the proper direction for being south of the equator?
Yes.
Is it happening?
I'm going to say yes.
It all just funnels
Well,
there.
You know, I mean, we are not even, as far as like the universe goes, we're not even in the infancy of a human life. We're in like conception as far as time goes with the universe itself. So other life forms, other places probably haven't had the time to develop and then create an infrastructure that makes it so that we can even be aware of each other.
Or maybe they already have and they died out many, many, many years ago.
Because they didn't have a Jupiter.
Or just because intelligent life really isn't so intelligent, they end up finding ways to destroy themselves.
Sure. It's an infinite number of things. And then on top of that, let's throw in the infinite number of universes that are outside of this universe.
Yeah, you're getting into the
what's going on there?
multiverse. Going into the multiverse now.
Yeah. And there's a theory. There's this really cool theory where intelligent life typically will get so intelligent, it's like across the board. If it doesn't die out and doesn't do this, then it has no, quote, children. Because, okay, so these intelligent beings, including ourselves, may eventually be able to create like almost a portal because we're able to focus remember that thing, the hydrogen it broke apart the I should have looked this up before I talked about it. It's that big underground like tube thing, and they were
collider.
smashing things. Yes, Hydron. What's it called?
No, I think it's just the name. Anyway, what are you saying?
So that eventually we may figure this out, or we might not, but we may be able to create the beginnings of a universe because we'll have started the very beginning of how a universe can begin. And then that will, of course, will evolve and expand. And if we're able to do that, then what may happen with these intelligent beings, which may also be ourselves, is that we'll create a universe within a universe. And those will be like the children of different universes. So if the one universe that we consider is the universe, then that can die out eventually, and we will have created another universe. So if we don't do that, if one universe doesn't have, quote, children, then it will just eventually just die out. Everything eventually will die. Nothing, even like protons, everything will just like fizzle away because there's nothing. But if you create these children, if these intelligent beings create the children, then a universe can live on infinitesimally. And that's like the only way that they theorize that the universe doesn't end with like an icy, cold, infinitely nothing.
So just one thing, you said infinitesimally. That means extremely small. Is that what you meant? I think you just meant...
Oh, I meant infinity.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So then the
Sorry.
Large Hadron Collider.
Yes.
That's just the name of it. Yeah, I mean, I know when they're smashing these things and possibly There is the idea that you could create another universe from one of these theories, and I don't even know what the theory is anymore. At some point, like multiverses come into play with the string theory, which was trying to unite physics and quantum physics, and they could never do it, and it just becomes stranger and crazier. And maybe it's real. It's like it's probably something that, it's, whatever the reality is, it wouldn't surprise me if it was very strange and hard to understand. But isn't there this idea if you create another universe in your universe, you're just going to destroy your universe?
I guess we don't know.
When the universe first started, the idea is that there was matter and antimatter, and they just canceled each other out violently. And then there was just a little more matter left than the antimatter. But if you create a new universe, then you're creating more of that setting, then the antimatter could just wipe out all the matter. So I don't know if people really want to start.
Is antimatter the same as dark matter?
No, that's different.
Or dark energy?
No, antimatter is not around really anymore because it just canceled out itself. Dark matter is the mass of galaxies, for example, doesn't match all the visible and physical is my new word, matter.
Okay.
So it's like,
say it again. Say it one more time.
It's just this idea. It's like the mass doesn't match. It's like, all right, this universe or this galaxy should have this much mass to it, but we can't. That doesn't exist. If we add up all the stars and all the planets and everything that exists in it, it's not matching. Like this is so. There's this idea that there's some other sort of mass there that we can't see.
Right.
And that's dark matter. And then dark energy is the thing that's apparently fueling the expansion of the universe forever.
And it's increasing in speed.
Yeah.
Instead of slowing down, which makes sense to me, my brain.
But that's where dark energy comes in. Like, why is it not slowing down?
Yeah,
something's
dark
still
energy
propelling
is like, let's go, light speed.
There's just too many things people will never know. I mean, it's interesting that we know this much as it is. I just feel like there's a limit on the brain. It's like how
there is. It's I heard it explained like it's asking a dog to explain the internet.
Well,
they cannot do it because they don't have the capacity to understand or to explain, and neither do we.
Well, we do have quite a bit of capacity. I just at some point, I think there's a limit. It's like, all right, you're not going to go past that.
Yeah,
we're not moving past it. You can keep trying. You can be Brian Greene all you want and try to be clever with your Simpsons references to make science more relatable. You loser. You
Who's
pathetic. That? He's another one of these astrophysicists who wants to be popular and famous, and he's quite often on with Neil deGrasse Tyson and things, and he's on a lot of the shows because compared to a lot of the real weirdos, he is able to relate. But I was reading one of his books once. He was behind the or he was buying into the like string theory and like Elegant Universe. I don't know if you ever saw that. That was a series on like PBS at some point. And so the multiverse kind of ties into some of his theories, but the guy in the book, it's like Simpsons references. And if you look at the back cover, here, look at this. He puts himself giant on the back. It's like, get your face off of this book. Nobody wants to see you. I don't want to see you. I'm not reading your book because of you. You're not a fucking rock star. If you wanted to be a rock star who didn't even do good music but was there on the image alone, you should have been in a hair metal band in the 80s. Like, I know that the dude's in it for the right work because that's probably what lured him to it, but at some point people just like, I need to be seen and known. It's like, shut up. You should be sent to Jupiter at that point. These are the people that need to be sent.
Yeah.
And it also, I think it undermines his work. It's like you could be doing more work if you didn't care about your image being on your fucking books. Or people who do charitable work and then they brag about it. It's like, if you do charitable work, it should be written nowhere. It just should be something you did because that's the point of charitable work. It's not so you can get applause and a pat on the back. This ties into our topic because we can use space and the scary parts of space to our advantage. That's where the focus should be. We should be using it to frighten the shit out of people and to have them reform their whole ways of thinking and viewing life.
People might go and see that kind of thing and be like, well, everything is pointless. So when I get back to Earth, I'm going to fuck shit up because nothing really matters anymore.
Possibly. And then at that point, then you should go to traditional jail. But I think a lot of people I just want them to realize that they're not that special. You're not. I would write a book. Wouldn't even put my name on it. Use a different name. No pictures of me. No one knows who I am.
Mesmer.
Well, then people know it would be Jake Mesmeyer because it's my alter ego.
It's your nom de plume.
I don't do things for the sake of doing them, not to be known for doing them. Pathetic. This is the limitation of humans. It's always got to be about themselves. Any advancements in science, you're talking about how people were talking about Venus early on. I guarantee there were people who had that theory. Venus is a great place to live. We can go and we can colonize. It's going to be wonderful. And as soon as they found out that it wasn't a good place to live, there were still those people like, no, because they dedicated their life's work to it, and everything they ever lived for has been proven to be a waste of time. And that's hard. I understand that. But to hinder the actual progress that you claim to stand for is ridiculous. It's like at that point, it's just about your ego. That's all it's about. Maybe that's what the universe is. Maybe our ego is the dark energy that's driving the part of the universe. And if people just put their egos in check for a little bit, the universe would stop expanding at this accelerated pace and wouldn't eventually, rip itself apart or whatever's going to happen. And maybe it could just achieve some balance. But that's what it is. It's all tied together. The universe is actually the inside of human consciousness, and that's giving humans too much credit, even saying that. It's all one and the same and exists everywhere and nowhere at once. And if people's got over themselves, maybe the violence in the universe would die down, but they can't. They can't. There, that's my theory on this week's show.
I think that the universe is also what human nature is.
Which is what?
Violent. Horrible, beautiful, interesting, scary.
Well, that's poetic.
Exciting.
It's very poetic. You should write a book of poetry on that. I know we already have the music that ties to all the planets. Who did that? That's one of your favorite orchestral pieces, classical pieces.
Gustav Holst. They have different pieces for all the planets. So I was listening to the Jupiter one, and so I think we should play out with that song.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, thank you. Are we wrapping up?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure. Thanks for listening to One Topic. Like and subscribe, rate and review. Support our sponsor, hoffandpepper.com. You can use our code OneTopic15 to get 15% off of some really amazing Chattanooga locally based hot sauce. Christmas is coming. They have mini flasks that you can give as maybe like a stocking stuffer. And then it's a great way to get a taste of it and see if you like it, which you will. So yeah, use our code OneTopic15 at hoffandpepper.com. Thank you. Goodbye. Hey, Greg.
Hey, Autumn.
Do you like hot sauce?
I do like hot sauce, but I'm getting pretty bored of my regular Texas Pete or Tabasco. I'm looking for a local sauce without any additives or extracts. A company that uses local peppers so it's as fresh as possible, and a company that really cares about the integrity of the sauce and where their ingredients come from.
Definitely.
And hey, while we're at it, I don't want a sauce with too many ingredients. A lot of other sauces out there, they have all kinds of fillers. So I'd love to find a sauce with, let's say no more than 5 ingredients. I mean, it's crazy, but there's gotta be a company out there that hand processes their sauce. Bottling and labeling every bottle themselves. I'm probably asking a lot.
Well, you really are, but there is a hot sauce out there who only uses 5 ingredients.
What?
0 fillers, additives, or extracts, and who bottles, labels, and packages everything themselves. It's called Hoff Sauce.
What?
They're a small batch hot sauce company out of Chattanooga, Tennessee that's won Best Louisiana-style sauce in the country. How many times? Not once, not twice, 3 times.
3 times!
How does that sound, Greg?
I think that sounds amazing.
You know how you can get your own bottle of hot sauce?
No, tell me please now.
Hoffandpepper.com. And not only am I giving you the gift of the best hot sauce that you'll ever taste, I'm going to give you 15% off if you use the code ONETOPIC15.
Hold on, that's
Yes, get a pen and paper.
One Topic 15.
Good. That's ONETOPIC 15, all squished together at checkout. You'll get 15% off your order and your life will be better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.